Hey guys, I hope everybody is doing well. I just wanted to review real quick. Hopefully you watched the videos of the examples. Just some things I needed to point out is when we're doing part to whole comparisons, parts of whole, when we're doing that, it's always dealt with circle graphs. So when we look at our first example, a total of 250 students were surveyed. How many more? How many more means to subtract. So they showed you two different methods. Method 1, they multiplied then subtracted. Method 2, they subtract then multiplied. Either way you do these, you will get the same answer. So remember, when we're finding percent of a number, convert your percent to a decimal. Of means multiply. So 20% of 60 is 0.20 times 60, which would give me 12. Example 2. So let's look at A. It says refer to circle graph above. A total of 300 students were surveyed. What fraction of the total number of students preferred cheese as their favorite topping? So when we pull back up here, you find cheese, which is 35%. So I worked both methods for you. Number 1, 35% of 300. This is where we multiply. So 7 out of 20. Method 2, 35% of 100% is 7 over 20. So either way you did it, you got the same answer. Looking at part-to-part comparisons and equivalents, when you see how many more, that's going to tell us to subtract. So how many more in Texas than in Florida? Again, two methods, multiply then subtract, subtract then multiply. Example 4. Compare New York to California. New York was 14%, California is 44%. Write it as the ratio. Fraction, decimal, percent. Hopefully you guys can see this. So now let's look at our example. It says a total of 79 million automobiles were registered in these states. How many more automobiles were registered in Florida than New York? Here's Florida at 19%, New York at 14%. Method 1, we multiplied, then subtracted. Method 2, we subtracted, then multiplied. Notice again, same answer, so your answer is 3.95 million. So let's go through the guided practice real fast before you do your assignment. So we're going to be using this circle graph right here. Total of 400 students were surveyed. How many more total students were surveyed than favor visiting Florida? So when I look at that, 38% of 400. So again, at this point, you can multiply and then subtract, or we can subtract and then multiply. So if I did 38% of 400, 38% of 400, convert, multiply. That gives me 152. So I take the 152, subtract it from 400, and you're going to get 248. Total of 400 students were surveyed. Write a ratio. So, okay, we're going to write a ratio that compares students that favor New York to Colorado. So if I look over here, New York is 7%, Colorado is 15%. So New York to Colorado. So we have to write that as a fraction, decimal, and percent. So fraction, Decimal, you guys know to do top in, bottom out. So 7 divided by 15 is going to give me 0.46 repeating. Convert that to a percent. I have 46.6 repeating percent. So, looking at the second guided practice, circle graph. Total of 250 households were surveyed. How many more households have 1 television than 3? So I'm going to look at 1 and 3. So at this point, again, you can subtract first and then multiply, or you can multiply and then subtract. I'm just going to do it one way. So I'm going to subtract 32% from 24%. And that gives me 8%. So I need to find 8% of 250. And that is going to give me 20 households. Total of 250 households were surveyed. What fraction have 3 televisions? 24%. And percent always goes over 100. And I just divide by 4. And that's going to give me 6 over 25. And then C, 250 households were surveyed. How many more households have 2 or more than less than 2 televisions? So I'm going to have to come up here and I'm going to have to add 2, 3, 4, and 5 or more. So 23, 24, 13, and 6%. That gives me 66% or 2 and more. Then I have to add the 1 and the none, which is 32 and 2, which gives me 34%. Again, at this point, you can subtract the percents and then multiply. So 66% minus 34% gives me 32% of 250 people. Convert, multiply, and you will get 80 households. Okay, go do your independent practice. Y'all have a good day.